At 2:17 in the morning, Lin Chen noticed that one of the stones in his aquarium was glowing. At first, he blamed the filter. Then he blamed his tired eyes. But when the light formed a perfect circle beneath the water, he stopped making excuses and leaned closer. The aquarium had always been ordinary. A few plants, a tired goldfish, a miniature mountain ornament he bought on sale because it looked better than an empty corner. Nothing about it suggested another world. And yet, behind the glass, the water was clearing. The plants were bending away from the center. Far below the surface, tiny lights were moving in formation. Lin Chen reached for the tank lid. The moment his fingers touched it, the entire aquarium trembled. Across the miniature landscape, a group of robed figures looked up at the sky. They had been running through a valley filled with smoke, carrying their wounded and guarding the last of their supplies. To them, the world had suddenly become silent. Then, a shadow covered the heavens. Lin Chen's face appeared above the water, enormous, pale, and impossibly close. He saw a mountain range no larger than his hand. He saw people no taller than grains of rice. Most importantly, he saw an army surrounding them. The tiny warriors dropped to their knees. Their leader raised both hands and cried, "Supreme Ancestor, if you can hear us, Qingyun's sect begs for a miracle." Lin Chen could hear nothing through the glass, but he understood one thing immediately. The aquarium was not displaying a world. It was containing one.
Lin Chen had no idea what a Supreme Ancestor was. He was a tired office worker, standing in socks beside a leaking aquarium. The people below, however, saw only a being large enough to blot out the stars. Their leader was Zhong Yuan, the final guardian of Qingyuan sect. Her robe was torn, her sword was chipped, and the sect's defensive barrier was flickering above the valley like a dying lantern. Lin Chen wanted to help, but the tank offered no controls, no doorway, no button, no explanation. So he did the only thing that made sense. He grabbed an apple from his kitchen counter and dropped it into the water. The result was immediate. The apple fell through the surface like a red moon. It passed between clouds, struck the valley floor, and buried itself in the earth with a thunderclap. From Lin Chen's perspective, it was a piece of fruit sinking among plastic plants. From Zhong Yuan's perspective, a crimson mountain had descended from heaven. The sect members surrounded it in silence. Elder Li, the oldest cultivator among them, touched the shining skin and began to tremble. "A sacred spirit fruit," he whispered. "The Ancestor has answered." The wounded took a single bite. Warm light spread through their bodies. Cuts closed. Exhaustion vanished. Even the broken barrier above the valley steadied itself. Lin Chen watched the miniature army recover and slowly realized that ordinary objects in his apartment were becoming extraordinary inside the tank. A fruit was a heavenly treasure. A plastic ornament might be a divine mountain. And if an apple could save an entire sect, perhaps the things attacking them were not as small as they looked. Outside the glass, the enemy regrouped. Inside the tank, Qingyuan's sect prepared to worship its accidental protector.
The enemy attacked before sunrise. Black-clad figures poured from the mist, moving between the trees with the confidence of soldiers who had already won. Their target was the last surviving branch of Qingyun's sect. Their purpose was simple: destroy the barrier, seize the sacred fruit, and erase every witness. Zhong Yuan placed the recovered disciples behind her. She knew the truth. The apple had restored their strength, but it had not restored their numbers. Against the approaching army, courage alone would last less than a minute. Back in his apartment, Lin Chen watched the tiny shadows gather. He searched through his drawers for anything that might help. A ruler was too wide. A chopstick was too blunt. A kitchen knife was too dangerous to drop near the glass. Then he found a sewing needle. It was barely longer than his fingernail. Lin Chen lowered it into the aquarium. For 1 second, nothing happened. Then the needle disappeared beneath the water and reappeared above the valley as a pillar of silver light. It pierced the clouds, stretched beyond the horizon, and landed point first between Qingyun sect and the attacking army. The ground split open.
A circular shockwave raced through the forest. Weapons flew from enemy hands. The black-clad soldiers were thrown backward, while the sect's barrier ignited in a wall of blue fire. Zhong Yuan stared at the colossal spear. Elder Li fell flat on his face. Lin Chen stared at the tank and slowly put both hands in the air, as if the world might accuse him of planning the explosion. The invaders fled. But the victory created a new problem. The survivors had now witnessed two miracles, and their fear had changed into absolute certainty. Somewhere beyond the valley, something ancient opened its eye.
The thing watching Qingyun sect was called Venerable Duobao, though no one alive had seen its true form. It ruled the Nine Nether Alliance from a fortress hidden beneath the clouds. Its followers believed it could see through every mountain, every spell, and every human heart. But one thing remained outside its understanding: the source of Qingyun sect's new protection. The apple had appeared without a delivery route. The silver spear had fallen without a caster. The barrier itself had been repaired by a force that left no spiritual signature. Duobao could not fight an enemy it could not locate, so it chose a slower weapon. Whispers began spreading among the cultivators. Perhaps Zhong Yuan had made a secret pact. Perhaps Elder Li had stolen an ancient relic. Perhaps the miracles were a trap designed to make the sect dependent before destroying it from within. Fear is easier to plant than loyalty, and the Nine Nether Alliance understood fear very well. Inside the aquarium, Zhong Yuan called a council. Some disciples wanted to leave the valley. Others wanted to search for the invisible master who had rescued them. Elder Li argued that the Supreme Ancestor had sent a message through every object he touched. Lin Chen, unaware of the meeting, was trying to clean algae from the front glass. When his sleeve brushed the tank, an entire mountain range shook. The sect interpreted the tremor as a warning. A vast eye appeared in the clouds beyond their barrier. It did not attack. It simply watched, surrounded by black lightning. Lin Chen finally saw it too. The tank was no longer a private mystery. Someone else had noticed his miracles, and that someone was beginning to look back. While a supernatural war developed inside his aquarium, Lin Chen faced a much more familiar kind of trouble outside it. His neighbor, Chen Chang, had damaged Lin Chen's motorcycle while moving furniture through the building entrance. The repair cost was manageable, but Chen Chang's parents arrived with a completely different story. According to them, the motorcycle had already been damaged. The security camera was broken, and Lin Chen was attempting to extort their son. Lin Chen knew it was a lie. He also knew that arguing with people who had rehearsed their story would not make them honest. That evening, he returned to the aquarium and found a small bronze bell among the objects near the water. It had been part of an old decorative set. Lin Chen picked it up, shook it once, and placed it beside the tank. Inside the cultivation world, a golden bell appeared above Qingyun sect. Outside, the real bell made no sound at all. Lin Chen had nearly forgotten it when Chen Chang began contradicting himself in the hallway. The man claimed he had not touched the motorcycle. Then he claimed the damage had been accidental. Finally, under pressure from his own parents, he admitted that he had moved it and promised to pay. The security camera suddenly powered on. The recording showed everything. Lin Chen never learned whether the bell had influenced the building or merely his timing. He only knew that ordinary tools seemed to become unusually persuasive whenever he was near the aquarium. In the tank, Elder Li announced that the Supreme Ancestor had delivered a truth bell. Lin Chen looked at the bronze ornament. For the first time, he wondered whether the aquarium was not only transforming objects, perhaps it was transforming him too. The next discovery was more frightening than the giant eye. Lin Chen fell asleep beside the aquarium for less than an hour. When he woke, the tiny settlement below had changed. New homes had appeared near the valley. The wounded had recovered. Children who had been infants were now old enough to carry wooden practice swords. Inside the tank, time was moving faster. An hour in Lin Chen's apartment could become a day, a season, or even a generation in the misty cloud realm. That meant every moment of hesitation had a cost. By the time he understood this, Qingyun sect had already lived through 3 months of uncertainty. The demon eye had not attacked again.
It had surrounded the valley with spies, rumors, and invisible pressure. The sect had become stronger, but it had also become dependent on miracles that Lin Chen did not know how to control. Zongyuan began recording every offering in a stone archive. The apple was listed as the spirit of renewal. The needle was listed as the heaven-piercing spear. The bronze bell was listed as the bell of honest hearts. Lin Chen read the names through a magnifying lens and nearly laughed. Then he noticed a final entry. The Supreme Ancestor is silent. He had been silent because he was working overtime and sleeping badly. To the sect, however, silence meant judgment. If he waited too long, they might make a dangerous decision on his behalf. Lin Chen set an alarm, opened his laptop, and began researching miniature models. If the world inside the aquarium was going to treat ordinary objects as divine artifacts, he needed to give them something useful. Something designed for the purpose. Something that could change the balance of power.
Lin Chen's plan began with a search for a three-dimensional model of an ancient sword tomb. The model was meant to be a decorative display, a miniature mountain split open by thousands of stone blades. But when Lin Chen saw the design, he realized it could become more than decoration. It could become a training ground, a hidden fortress, and perhaps a test for the sect's strongest disciples. The problem was that his own printer was too small and too unreliable. That was when Chen Qiang became useful. Chen Qiang worked with computers, owned a better printer, and was still trying to pay for the motorcycle repair. Lin Chen offered him a simple deal. Finish the model, and the debt would disappear. Chen Qiang accepted without asking why his neighbor needed a sword-covered mountain before the weekend. For 3 nights, the printer worked continuously. Pieces emerged layer by layer. Gates, bridges, towers, stairways, and a central chamber shaped like the hilt of a buried blade. To Chen Qiang, it was a clever model. To Lin Chen, it was a possible answer to the demon eye. When the final piece was assembled, Lin Chen carried it carefully to the aquarium. The moment the model touched the water, the glass filled with white light. Inside the tank, the sky broke open. A black mountain rose beyond Qingyun's sect. Blades appeared along its ridges, each one humming with silent power. At the summit, a sealed doorway opened for the first time in 10,000 years. Zongyun understood the message differently. The Supreme Ancestor had not sent them a weapon. He had sent them a choice. To enter the sword tomb, each disciple would have to confront the fear that kept them dependent on miracles.
The first disciple to enter the sword tomb was not Zongyuan. It was a quiet girl named Mei, who had never won a duel and had spent most of her life hiding behind stronger cultivators. She believed the Supreme Ancestor had chosen the trial to expose her weakness. The tomb disagreed. The moment Mei crossed the gate, every sword in the mountain turned toward her. Some were bright and elegant. Others were cracked, rusted, or broken at the hilt. The path ahead seemed to ask a single question. What kind of strength survives after the weapon is gone? Mei reached for the brightest blade. It vanished. She reached for a larger one. It shattered. Finally, she sat down in the dust and admitted that she was afraid. The smallest broken sword began to glow. Outside the aquarium, Lin Chen saw only a miniature figure kneeling beside a glittering model. Inside, Mei heard a voice beneath the stone. "A sword does not make you brave," it said. "It reveals what you choose to protect." Mei lifted the broken blade and walked toward the summit. One by one, the illusions fell away. The army she feared became shadows. The insults she remembered became echoes. At the final gate, she found not a treasure, but another frightened disciple waiting for help. Mei gave the broken sword to him. The entire tomb trembled. A new path opened through the mountain. Lin Chen stared at the aquarium, surprised by what he was seeing. He had built a model to defend the sect, but the world inside had turned it into a school. The disciples did not need him to solve every problem. They needed a place
where they could learn to solve some problems themselves.
After the sword tomb opened, the strongest cultivators of Qingyun's sect gathered before the aquarium's central lake. They had witnessed the apple. They had survived the spear. They had entered a mountain that should not exist. Each miracle made one conclusion harder to avoid. Somewhere beyond the sky, a powerful intelligence was protecting them. Zhong Yuan proposed a master-servant contract. Elder Li objected immediately. A true contract required consent from both sides, and the Supreme Ancestor had never spoken directly to them. Worship was easy. Responsibility was harder. That night, Zhong Yuan placed a blank scroll beside the lake and addressed the empty heavens. "We will not demand your favor," she said. "We will not claim your gifts as our right. If you protect us, we will protect one another. If you remain silent, we will still endure." Lin Chen heard none of this clearly. He was standing in his apartment, adjusting the aquarium light. But when his hand touched the glass, a thin line of gold appeared across the scroll. The sect fell silent. The contract did not bind them to obedience. It bound them to restraint. They would accept help without becoming helpless. They would honor the unseen guardian without surrendering their judgment. Zhong Yuan signed first. The others followed. Across the room, Lin Chen felt a brief warmth in his palm. Then the feeling disappeared. For the first time, the relationship between the apartment and the aquarium became more than a chain of accidents. It became an agreement. The sect would prepare for the day Lin Chen could not save them. And Lin Chen, whether he was ready or not, would prepare for the day the demon eye finally crossed the barrier. The attack began with a single missing shadow. A guard at the western gate reported that the lanterns had gone dark. Then a second guard forgot the name of his own commander. By midnight, 3 disciples were walking toward the barrier with blank expressions, carrying weapons they did not remember picking up. The demon eye had found a way inside. It did not break the barrier. It entered through suspicion, using the sect's own memories as doors. Every disciple saw a different vision. Zhong Yuan abandoning them, Elder Li hiding a secret, Lin Chen preparing to discard the aquarium. The more they argued, the stronger the invasion became. In his apartment, Lin Chen noticed the water turning gray. The goldfish hid beneath the plants. Even the sword tomb had lost its light. He reached for the aquarium lid, but stopped. An offering might destroy the infection, or it might give the demon eye another object to corrupt. So Lin Chen tried something new. He spoke. Not to the glass, not to the people below, to himself. "You are not a god," he said. "You are a man with a tank and very bad timing. But if they can hear anything, they should hear the truth." Inside the misty cloud realm, his voice arrived as a low vibration beneath the earth. Zhong Yuan recognized it first, not as a command, but as a reminder. The sect members stopped fighting one another and began describing what they had seen. The visions contradicted each other. The lies could not survive being spoken aloud. The demon eye recoiled. For one instant, its enormous pupil appeared above the lake. Then it smiled. "Now I know where you are," it said. The aquarium cracked from corner to corner. Lin Chen had one night to reinforce the aquarium. He searched his apartment for materials that could create a second barrier. He found a ceramic bowl, a roll of reflective film, a desk lamp, and a stack of transparent plastic sheets left over from an old project. None of them looked powerful. That was exactly why they might work. Lin Chen placed the bowl upside down around the base of the tank. He lined the outer glass with the reflective film and positioned the lamp so that the aquarium disappeared into a wash of harmless blue light. Inside the misty cloud realm, the changes were enormous. A circular dome descended over Qingyun's sect. The bowl became a hollow sky. The reflective film turned hostile eyes away from the valley. The plastic sheets became layers of transparent crystal, each one bending hostile energy back toward its source. Elder Li called it the Veiled Heaven Formation. Zhong Yuan called it a hiding place. Lin Chen called it a temporary fix,
and prayed nobody asked him to explain the engineering. The demon eye struck before dawn. Black lightning hit the outer barrier and vanished. A second attack turned into rain. A third disappeared into the reflection and reappeared above the 9 nether fortress. For the first time, Duo Bao felt uncertainty. The world it had studied for centuries was built on visible laws: distance, power, cause and effect. Lin Chen's artifacts violated all 4 because they came from a place the cultivation world could not perceive. The aquarium did not become invincible. It became difficult to find. And sometimes, surviving an enemy's attention is the first victory.
The hidden barrier bought Qingyun sect time, but it also trapped them in a dangerous silence. No messages came from outside. No merchants reached the valley. No rival sects knew whether Qingyun sect still existed. The disciples trained, repaired their homes, and explored the sword tomb. Yet every celebration felt incomplete. Lin Chen began to understand the cost of protection. A wall could keep enemies out, but it could also keep a community from growing. Then, the missing shadows returned. This time, they were not illusions. The demon eye had sent a fragment of itself through the crack in the aquarium. It appeared as a black sphere above the central lake, small enough to fit in Lin Chen's palm, but heavy enough to bend the mountains beneath it. Zhong Yuan led the defense. Mei carried the broken sword. Elder Li rang the bronze bell. The fragment laughed at all 3. Lin Chen looked around his apartment. The apple was gone. The needle had become part of the western fortress. The model printer was broken. He had no miracle left that seemed large enough. Then he noticed the goldfish watching him. Its ordinary movement stirred the water. The plants moved with it. The reflections on the glass shifted. The aquarium was not a collection of objects. It was a living system. Lin Chen placed both hands against the tank and waited. He did not drop anything. He did not pretend to understand the laws inside. He simply stayed present. The fragment's power weakened. The sect's barrier synchronized with the water. The sword tomb lit every blade at once, and the bronze bell rang without being touched. The demon eye was defeated, not by a single artifact, but by every connection Lin Chen had helped create. Below the glass, Zhong Yuan looked toward the sky. This time, she did not kneel. She bowed once and returned to work.
By morning, the crack in the aquarium had sealed. The demon eye had not been destroyed, but it had retreated beyond the mist, wounded and uncertain. It would return one day with a better plan. Lin Chen knew that. Zhong Yuan knew it too. The difference was that Qingyuan sect no longer waited helplessly for rescue. The disciples had a functioning barrier, a training ground, a record of every miracle, and a contract that reminded them to protect one another before asking the heavens for help. Mei had become an instructor in the sword tomb. Elder Li had stopped naming every household object and started teaching the younger disciples how to question their assumptions. Even Chen Qiang became part of the strange arrangement. Lin Qiang asked him to print a new set of structures for the aquarium. Chen Qiang agreed, provided the work was paid in advance and nobody called his models divine weapons in front of his parents. In the apartment, the aquarium looked peaceful again. The goldfish moved through the plants. The blue light reflected across the wall. The bowl remained beneath the tank. The reflective film remained on the glass, and the miniature sword tomb glittered in the distance. Then, Lin Qian saw a new shape beneath the water. It was not an apple. It was not a needle, a bell, or a mountain. It looked like a small door. On the other side, something was knocking. Lin Qian reached toward the glass and stopped just before touching it. He had begun this journey believing he was the god of a tiny world. Now he understood the truth. He was its caretaker, its witness, and sometimes its most dangerous source of chaos. The people inside the aquarium did not need a perfect supreme ancestor. They needed someone willing to listen, learn, and return when the water began to move. The knocking came again.
Lin Chen turned on the light, and the next world opened.